Welcome back to another episode of I Quit My Band. My name is Nate.
I'm JJ.
I'm Evan.
How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm feeling charged up, dude.
I am charged up.
And we're charged. We put a little extra something in the CZs tonight.
Yeah.
Little Panera lemonade,
that
baby.
Panera essence.
Bought it on the black market.
Yeah,
I still got it.
You can't get it anymore.
Yeah.
But
Killed my grandfather, but I still like it.
my grandfather was the lonely man in the winter jacket at Panera eating by himself.
Oh, charged up lemonade. That sounds nice.
Yeah, let me try one.
Charged up lemonade. Let me drink 3 gallons of it and die.
Let me try one of those.
How the fuck do you make a lemonade that kills people?
That's fucking crazy.
That's unbelievable.
I know this story is possibly years old. Is it?
The charged up lemonade.
When did that happen?
I think
last
so,
year.
Was it last year?
I think so. Last year.
Yeah.
But
it
it
might
is
have
one-
been like 5 years
We
ago,
were
but-
just talking about
Yeah.
it before, so you know.
It is one of the funniest things ever to make
Yeah.
a lemonade that kills you.
just murders.
And not only it's like one thing if like Taco Bell made that because they
Yeah.
like make diarrhea food. I love it though. But if it's Panera that makes soup and
yeah, it makes
sandwiches
soup and like nice
for
like,
moms.
Artisan bread.
Artisan bread.
And then just like a fucked up
Yeah.
lemonade that will
House-
kill your father.
House-made ciabatta rolls and lemonade.
And a side
that
of
kills you.
fucked up lemonade.
Yeah, that'd be a great Black Mirror episode. Just like the lemonade.
The charged
It's the lemonade.
charged up lemonade.
Well, I would say I wanted like a full Oppenheimer backstory
Yeah.
where like the food scientist is Oppenheimer
With the
who's,
goggles
like,
on.
Yeah, who's being like threatened by military
Yeah.
generals.
He's
to
having
make
like
a lemon.
with
Charge it up.
with like an ethical dilemma.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He's like, I know what this will do
Yeah.
to the obese population.
Yeah.
Talking to like Einstein by the pond.
Yeah.
I don't think we can charge it up anymore, Albert.
You can always charge it more, Mr. Panera.
Just some guy
Yeah.
who like makes bullshit food, has 3 bodies on his like conscience forever now.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true. Some
I
guy
think
There is
killed
some
people.
marketing guy that's just like, I can't believe. I mean, the testing said it would work.
I didn't know
fine.
people were gonna get big gulps.
I
Full
didn't know
of
people
it.
would die.
I wouldn't have charged it
I
up.
wouldn't have charged. Yeah, you know that guy has zero remorse. He's like,
He
it was
still
a
has-
great
He
idea, and I
still has
stand
a
by it.
job, probably.
He probably does. He just gets shit from it in every meeting. It's like, all right, enough of you, Brett.
Yeah, all right, Brett. Why don't we charge that up again?
Oh, listen to Brett.
Yeah,
To
good
charge
idea.
up this. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, now we're on charges.
just that's
That's
every
what's charged
pitch
up.
he has. So hear me out. Charged up high C. Like Brett, you know what happened.
What if we
last
add
time.
caffeine to the soup?
Yeah. The charged up turkey bravo. I'm just
And then it's like, yeah, Brett. Okay, just another charged up
Oh, just
situation.
charge up the sandwich.
Gonna get us into hot, charged up water again.
album
okay.
review.
Yeah, the album. What we're doing here.
That's what the podcast should be. Fuck
yeah,
music.
We should just
honestly.
talk about Panera.
we're the charged
The
up
charged
boys.
up boys. Yeah, so thanks for being here. Before we get into it, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and follow us on or subscribe to our Patreon page, $5 a month. To get some bonus content. We're gonna probably be, we're gonna have to do a new episode here soon. So be on the lookout for whatever that is. The good news is that if you watched our last episode, which is the Lady Gaga review, go check that out.
No one else watched it, so.
A lot of people didn't watch it. I mean, it was a week late. People already decided
Yeah.
Well,
this
and
is good.
Fantano copied our exact takes.
He did copy us, which it sucked because we recorded the podcast before he put out his review, and
Yeah.
then we saw his,
and we sat on it.
and we sat on it.
like idiots.
I mean,
He's
come on.
got the fucking studio bugged. For
He's
our
got the
takes.
studio. I mean, everything we said was like I was
Spot
listening to that.
on.
I was like, we said that.
Yeah.
We said that.
You're
yeah,
not
he
the only
may-
bald guy in town.
You're not the only
fucker.
bald, smart guy in town.
Yeah.
yeah, it takes 3 of us to match your one take, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, Lady Gaga's probably not our demo. I think as more rock releases come out,
One of my
we're gonna
favorite
get something
reviews
for the
of the
boys.
year, though.
It was great. I like the record. I think the score was fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still on the cusp of our territory here. It's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for more reviews coming up in April or March, April, and May. Lots of album releases coming out. We plan to cover as much as we can. The good news is that if you did see that review, you probably saw the status of our studio. It doesn't look like that anymore.
No.
We're nice and fixed up. We got fiery red walls that get us charged up like that lemonade.
Yeah, it's a charged up wall.
Yeah, it's a different vibe down here.
Yeah.
It looks like in 7 when he goes down to that like sex club.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Kind of like
That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
so I told the Home Depot, helper lady.
Yeah.
You ever seen 7 when they go
you
to
hand him that
sex club?
Polaroid of that like leather thing he makes. She's like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the.
That's for me.
Yeah, that's not the swatch that I wanted. I got the swatch right here.
When you sent us a picture, it reminded me of the elevator spewing blood out of from The Shining.
It is
We
kind of
talked
like
about it on
that
the
too.
last episode.
We did
Yeah.
talk about The Shining.
We did, yeah. It does kind of look like that, but it's good to be in a clean place where we're not breathing in black mold.
The mold is
That's-
covered
yeah.
up now.
That's the best part. Yeah, the mold is still there.
It's still
Yeah,
there.
it's still there.
but it's
up.
covered.
But
yeah.
by
I'm
a
probably
wall.
gonna inhale paint fumes before I get the black mold.
Yeah.
The paint fumes is the new thing to worry.
It masks the mold.
But
Yeah.
we're on our way to becoming. This is a real studio.
Maybe
This is
eventually I
real.
can get that chair.
No.
I was thinking about. I was gonna go pick up that chair for you this weekend.
Every time I walk into your house, since you've floated that idea, I'm like, I wonder if the chair is gonna.
I was
down there.
actually going to pick it up, and I was
Yes.
going to get a mini fridge for this
Oh
weekend
my God.
too.
Amazing.
But yeah, work in progress.
One thing at a time.
Things at a time. I had to paint this whole fucking thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the walls took 13 months.
It's-
so chair, mini fridge.
Might be
that on
another
Q2,
6. Yeah,
Q3.
Q2.
It's gonna take one more review where I'm not here, where this
Yeah.
chair sits here, that
Yeah.
you guys get bashed.
The first review
Look
we
at
do
that
with the
thing
new chair.
JJ has to sit on.
It'll be another one where you're not here, and then Evan will sit in your chair, and me and him will just be like right next to each other.
Yeah, we'll unveil the new chair in a duo
In a duo
pod.
review. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it feels good down here.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks everyone for being here. Go check out that Lady Gaga review. Go subscribe to Patreon and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thanks for sticking around through all the Panera banter. We always like to kick this this thing off with a little banter.
Yeah, have no idea if that helps retention. Probably.
Yeah, it
hurts.
probably
I don't think it
doesn't. Who
does,
cares?
but we're 2 years into it. We're figuring it out.
Episode 102, boys.
Yeah, so what I'll do, we're figuring it out. I have
triple
fun
digits.
talking about that.
Yeah, me too. Probably more fun than I'll have listening to this album.
Probably, yeah. But we did come here to review another album that came out this week. One of JJ's suggestions that we listened to. It's Bambara with the album called Birthmarks, which came out just last Friday.
Yeah, on Friday.
Bambara is a band that I'm not unfamiliar with, but they've been on my radar for a long time. They've been one of those bands I'm always like, they're really cool, but I just haven't dove really that deep into their discography. But saw them open for Daughters a long time ago. Really great set. They kind of matched Daughters very dark, ominous, post-punk-iness, except not that dark, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was more post-punky instead of heavy. But yeah, they're I always thought of them as an interesting post-punk band that's kind of trying to take Nick Cave and kind of put it into a more rock type of bottle.
It's a good
I
way
guess.
to put that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them. I didn't know they existed, and I saw them play a headlining show at Spirit probably 2 or 3 years ago in the weirdest setting ever, because the only time I've seen them do it in Spirit Hall upstairs, which is, for context, is just a big theater that people come to play in Pittsburgh. They set up on the floor in front of the stage. And I don't know if they asked for that or whatever, but it was so cool. And the performance, I came to see my friend's band who was opening for them, and I the show and the performance, particularly from the front man, was so confrontational and intense, but the music wasn't totally intense. That I this doesn't happen to me that often, but I was immediately immersed and loved every second of it. And I bought a shirt afterwards and have paid attention to their stuff since. That was probably 2-3 years ago. So when this album came around, I was like, I mean, it's something that we may like, you know, it's not totally out of our wheelhouse, and they're an interesting band. They have like pretty cool accomplishments on their resume, and you know, they're just still going, you know.
Once you buy that shirt, dude, there's no coming back.
No, you gotta
Yeah.
review the album.
You got to review the album.
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this band. Never listened to one of their songs. When JJ brought it up, I was just like, all right.
Usually I'm in that position.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually you.
The shit's on the other foot this time.
Yeah, I mean, I checked them out, you know, for a good while. They opened for Idols on tour.
Yeah.
I can't remember which tour it was, but I don't think I saw them with Idols, but I saw them with Daughters, and checked out some of their records. I mean, they have this kind of like detective, kind of smoky noir type of feel
Yes.
to all their music. Their vocals and their lyrics like seem very like narrative, like they're trying to tell a story in a lot of the records. They have a lot of characters that they put in their records, like we'll see on this record, but there was a past record where they have like a character named like Serafina. They have like stories about like star-crossed lovers and
Yeah.
things like that. And they had a sort of like Western type of vibe to their older songs. It's not really what we have on this record, but yeah, that's what kind of struck me about them getting into them. But this record was kind of it was a little bit of a different animal than what I was used to from them. But,
Yeah, I had that question of like, we'll get into it as
Yeah.
we go on.
Yeah. You don't want to ask it now.
Well, yeah, just is this a departure from the stuff that they used to do? Were they more
okay.
like straight post-punky,
A little bit.
like
Yeah.
a little grungier, a little heavier?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe not like mega heavier, but they definitely like they did a lot more driving shit.
Yeah.
In previous work.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Because like when you said they opened for Daughters, after hearing this record, I was like, really?
Yeah.
You know
I
what
mean,
Yeah.
I could still see it, but yeah, I mean, they reminded me more of like Ice Age
Oh,
or
okay.
like a
Yeah.
band like the Butter Tones or something like that with like those really kind of, those trebly like strat sounds
Yeah.
and like, like detective type of shit.
The
you know?
noir.
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 Yeah. Detective.
Yeah.
The word is detective.
The word.
Yeah.
We don't.
That's the word.
Fuck that French
Fuck
bullshit.
that shit. Yeah, it's Sin City, Frank Miller
Oh,
type of
hell
shit.
yeah.
That's
which is noir, but
Yeah.
still, like, yeah.
But that's how I think of it.
Yeah, you think
in
of
my
Marv.
HBO brain.
You're like it's very Marv.
it's Marv. Yeah.
And
let's
Harry, Wet Bandits.
Yeah, it's Home Alone.
Yeah.
Marv. Yeah. Let's get into it. It's Bambara with Birthmarks, and it's like with my band. So this is the first song. It's called Hiss.
Yeah. I really like this opening track. Kind of reminds me of like how that Fontaine's DC album started a little bit, like with like super dark, and like this one's a little less like dramatic, but it still like sets a really dark kind of apocalyptic tone.
Yeah, it's still cinematic like
Yeah,
that was.
that's the
Yeah.
word. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Fontaine's DC record is a kind of a cool comparison because I mean that one like it was dark, but it had more of like this kind of pop sensibility to it. Where I feel like this has not zero pop sensibility, but it's more like trying to be as spooky as possible.
This is the emo cousin.
a little bit.
Yeah, this is the Spirit Halloween version
Yeah.
of Fontaine's DC.
Yeah, I think that. I mean that melody is very poppy. It almost reminds me of something that I can't put my fucking finger on. And it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
This is my first introduction to the guy's voice, which Nick Cave, I'm getting big time.
Yeah.
Just in like but there's also like there's like a Chris Isaacs.
Oh yeah. I was
Also-
gonna bring up Chris Isaacs
Yeah,
for sure.
Like there's like a if Nick Cave was sexy, you know what I mean? And like there's a part of it that like those two flavors I feel like I'm having a hard time like circling the square with because like the point of Nick Cave is that he's like so weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hearing a guy with like a good voice do the Nick Cave thing, I'm like,
You usually only do this kind of stuff when you're ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You usually only get this spooky when you're like a creature of a man.
yeah.
You're
When you-
Alice Cooper.
Yeah, when you look like the personification of a spider.
Yes.
You know? But when you're like this kind of handsome jacked guy and you're doing it, you're like, what happened?
He's
You
kind
know,
of
to
my
you?
height, but like he's a really engaging frontman. Like
Yeah,
I said,
he is.
He really, really gets into a performance.
Yeah.
But he's also brooding and like looks like he's gonna snap at any point, but like doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I could.
you know what I mean?
Like the vocals seem like all of them would be performed with the hands out. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like that kind of like pulling you
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
sort of.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's very just in the depths of like goth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's really like laying into
Really
it.
deep voice too.
Yeah. I don't mind his vocal here. The only thing about the song I don't like that much is just like I feel like I'm about to get into a record that sounds washed out kind of because of this. Like there's reverb on the drums, there's reverb on the guitar, there's reverb on the vocals. There's like a background, like a woman singing like kind of in the middle of the song, and that sounds like very distorted and hushed.
Yeah.
So I don't like love this. I don't love the sound of what we got so far. But it is like, you know, it's playing into that post-punk vibe. There's always going to be reverb there, but maybe it's just a little bit too much on each instrument.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
this hit though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has like, I would almost call it like neon noir. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like, there's also something about it that feels like futuristic.
Yeah.
You know, not quite like when I think of noir, I think of like old shit.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Dark,
feel like
black and
old.
white.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially like the second song is like very
That one.
synth heavy and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to that. This is letters from Sing Sing.
The other thing that I could compare his voice to, and this might be a little bit of a stretch, but the singer of Geese, if this guy, because they're at a similar timbre, but the guy from Geese is like way more dynamic
Animated,
and all
yeah.
over the place.
Yeah. I was thinking that his voice reminds me a lot of Alexis Marshall from Daughters, except just like with the intensity pulled back like
Yeah.
100%. Like
Definitely
if it was-
not like because he can go real manic.
It's not really
Yeah.
yelling, but it's more just like doing the singing parts of the Daughters songs. Yeah.
This
That's
was one of
the,
the
like-
singles, I think.
Yeah.
I could hear that. It almost sounds like a Billy Idol song or something like that. With
Yeah.
that like dun, dun.
Yeah.
And this is like where you get some of the like the narrative.
Yeah.
So this guy's like he's got a glass eye, and you get the idea that he killed some girl's boyfriend. It's the first mention of the girl. Her name's Elena. She's kind of
Yes.
like our femme fatale in the detective
Yes.
story.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's begging for the electric chair in python skin boots, which
Yes.
is sick.
He does wear those. They all wear fancy cowboy boots in this
Oh,
band.
do they?
Yeah.
But it's legit then, because like there was
Yeah.
part of like some of this stuff that I was hearing like, how about this? Are these? Because it's leather jackets, it's the whiskey tumblers, it's like the light coming through the shades. It's noir is a like genre built on tropes.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's the entire point of it.
Yeah.
So like when you hear a modern band doing these tropes that like originated in like the 30s.
Yeah.
I'm a little like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's like about a guy in Sing Sing, and then he has a glass eye, and there's a line where it says it's called Sing Sing, but there ain't no karaoke.
That's
Nice.
I love
But
that.
it
Nice.
does come back to that, and it makes sense within the narrative.
Yeah.
But like with the synth and stuff, and then the noir elements, it felt like not quite because they're a cooler band than this, but it's like a James Elroy novel, like L.A. Confidential, but like chain smokers.
Oh,
sort of.
shit.
Not quite that,
Yeah.
but
I
there's
mean-
like something about it that like I don't know, feels like a perfume ad or something.
I mean, my issue with the narrative is that like we just talked about that song by The Darkness, where they are just kind of naming things that are associated with like rock people and like rock and roll music, like Zippo lighters,
Yeah.
like that Marble Reds, like that whole thing. And like this is like it's not cheesy in that way, but it has a little bit of that like rolled into it where you're listening to it and you do just like some of the things you pick up on is like when he just like in a cobra, in
Yeah.
a leather boots, in
Yeah.
a leather jacket, and you're like, okay, like I get like it's bringing you to that like that's that thing in rock music where we kind of talked about with Queens of the Stone Age, where it kind of gets boiled down to like knives and snakes and
Yeah.
skulls and
Yeah.
things like that. Except it's like a whole album kind of based off of that, which like I don't really have a huge problem with. But you have to kind of understand the narrative and read the lyrics to kind of go like, oh, it's about more than that, I guess.
Yeah, and like accept it as like this exercise in like noir storytelling,
Yeah.
but through rock music, which
Yes.
I'm not used to. And when I am when there are Tom Waits songs that have like noir elements, like Small Change Got Rained On. by-
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's so weird
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it's like easier to accept that because if he feels like a character out of a noir story.
Yeah,
got, like,
he's
this
already the
crumpled up
character.
hat.
Yeah, these are
And
pretty normal dudes.
They
normal
sound
looking.
they sound normal too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's I think I'm having a hard time making all of these elements fit in my
Connect.
head because like they seem like there's such eccentric elements.
Yes.
But the music is going down so like smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it feels like just like the bass. Well, let's just
Keep
move
going.
on to the
Yeah,
next
keep
song.
going.
I don't want to spill the load on the second song.
It is a short record, though.
It is,
so
yeah.
It's like a half an hour.
This song's called "Face of Love."
Elena is back.
Elena
Elena's
is back.
back.
I can't get over that first line. Let me just go back to it. Just wait.
Her name tag says Elena, but she moves just like you used to. When I order a
What the fuck does that mean?
Well,
Who
I think
cares?
Her name tag says Elena, but she moves just like you used to.
there
I feel like it's just a soup of just things, you know?
I think I kind of understand the story a little bit. And it's about like these two women whose like their past is connected in some way.
Okay.
We'll go into it later.
You had an easier time connecting the story. I did. I was just like, what the fuck is
I haven't
this
given
about?
this story a thought once.
Well,
I tried to connect it. I was reading the lyrics because it was just like there's obviously a narrative here. Like it's the way he delivers the vocals. Like
Yeah.
he's telling a story. Like he's more talking than singing on a lot of these songs.
Yeah, and like that first line sounds like something out of like a Raymond Chandler book or
Yeah,
something. Like I
yeah.
read a lot of noir books and
Yeah.
like that kind of thing is like her name tag said Elena,
Yeah,
but
right.
she moves just like you
Right.
used to. You know.
Yeah.
But like again, like my thing is like noir is like usually like these desperate people who have fucked up their own lives.
Yes.
And this sounds like a guy who's like if things went really bad for him wherever he is, he could move back east and work at his dad's law firm or
Yeah.
something. You know, I don't want to cast aspersions on this guy because he sounds like an awesome performer and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
just the sonic elements and the subject matter aren't syncing up completely. I do like this one more than some of the other ones because I do like that shoegazy kind of thing that goes on. I don't love the like almost rapping that's happening.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that.
But like I do really like the when that shoegaze part comes in, it opens up a little more.
Yeah, I like the mid
Right here.
tempo. I like the pace of this a lot, and I like this.
It's kind of ugly and weird.
Yeah, I like this chorus a lot too.
Yeah.
It's a Midwife. Is there a band that features on this song? To
Oh, I
do the
didn't know
chorus?
that.
There's a band I've heard of, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I've ever listened to their stuff.
But yeah, I really like how they include like female vocals on some of these songs to kind
Yeah.
of spice it up a little bit and
Because he,
play more into that like femme fatale type.
yeah,
of thing.
and he really only has like one mode, or not
Yeah.
one, maybe two modes, but like it's all just like deep, dark, and brooding. You know.
That is true.
And
He doesn't.
can't really ascend anywhere.
Yeah, he
you know?
kind of stays in one lane.
He yells every once in a while,
Yeah.
like to really
Yeah.
like emphasize something, but it's not like
It's not what a female voice could provide for
Yeah.
the story or
for
whatever.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I just don't like love about it is just like we are playing into the whole noir thing, but I feel like there's just things that just get thrown into like really like shove it down your throat that this is a spooky
I
scene.
lit a cigarette. And
Yeah.
There was a man in the corner.
Yeah, like there's exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's like the chorus on this song towards the back half, like you have the chorus and then he like comes and does like a call and response. And his call and responses are just like I feel like they're so unnecessary. Like I think this is it. Watch her shimmy through acrylic beads. Her hips are swaying, but I see yours swing. My broken body starts to feel like 17. I hear you sing. Like, I feel like it just doesn't. It's just like painting a picture of this like motel room, and that's really it.
There are certain parts of that. It's almost. There are parts of that do harken back to what I think the story is.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But when you're listening to it as a song, I'm just like,
yes,
all right,
and
I
the
get
story is told out of order, like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's why I had a trouble.
So like sometimes like I
connecting
was getting hit with stuff like that karaoke line in Sing Sing. I was like, that's terrible.
it. And then there's another karaoke.
But there's another
Yeah.
karaoke thing that it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you're hit with that first, and you're like, what is that lyric? There's no karaoke. It's Sing Sing. Give me the electric chair. That song is him begging for the electric chair, which is kind of sick. Which is like, fucking kill my ass, dude.
Here's "Pray to Me" is the next song. I'm gonna pull up the lyrics.
I like the guitar in this a lot. That kicks in. So this one we kind of get. This is like catching us up a little bit. So
With
we got
Elena.
with Elena, our protagonist who had a glass eye in the electric chair.
Yes, yeah.
We learn how he got his glass eye, and it's because he would shoot arrows up in the air, and he thought that God would never let an arrow hit him in the eye.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Dumbass.
Fucking- yeah. So we learn our protagonist
Right in
is
the
a
eye.
dumbass. And that plays into the thing because later it's like this idea of believing that like God will save you from these like horrible things if you
Yeah.
have like a certain type of faith.
But horrible things happen anyways.
Sort of, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. Like there's like another person that think I love this guitar.
Yeah, this guitar
Yeah.
is cool.
And there's like other motifs. Fog, halos is a big one. She has a halo in her hair.
Snakes,
Snake,
copperhead snakes.
specifically.
Yeah,
Snakeskin boots.
specifically.
And then
snakeskin boots.
where the story of this song I do kind of find like funny is that so the guy with the glass eye is doing karaoke to get like Elena's attention. Okay.
I like.
this is the arrows.
Yeah,
in the
this
sky.
is the arrow story. Yeah, I like this, like, poem. You know, in the song, like it feels like a very like short story ish.
Yeah.
I really like the way, like, even though it's, you know, it's very noir. Like, I do like the way it's put together and written.
Me too. Like
Yeah.
I will say, like I don't love how all of the elements come together at times, but as like a piece of writing, some of the lyrics are good.
Yes,
Like he does have like you could definitely tell he has a reverence for that type of storytelling.
Yeah.
And does it in a way that's not. This could be so much cheesier than it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
could be absolutely terrible.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I wanted. There was so many times where I wanted to call this record cheesy, and I was like, it's not. Though.
It's not.
Like it's well written, and it's on the verge of cheesy, but it never really gets there.
Maybe
It's-
that's on purpose, though. You know,
Well,
I
yeah.
feel like
I
there's,
think it just.
there's no way to like push forward an inherently cheesy story that's been done a million times without it being perceived slightly that way. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think he's just like a good enough lyric writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like where it's just he knows how to stay away from that. You know, like
Yeah.
it could be, but it just never quite gets there.
Yeah, and for instance, so like in this song, that guy, our main character, I believe he goes up to do karaoke to try to get Elena's attention, and he does a Waylon Jennings song, but then
Yeah.
he sees a guy touching her hair, and he just
Oh, shit.
snaps and
Yeah.
murders that guy. So that's why he's in Sing Sing. That's why he mentions there's no karaoke there. And in another context, that's Next Contestant by Nickelback.
That is, yeah.
It's
I mean,
the
that's
same idea. Is that your hand
And
on my girlfriend?
minus
Yeah.
the glass eye.
Minus
Yeah.
the glass eye.
See, this is what we're saying.
Damn.
It's like
This is why this
that's
podcast
cheesy.
is smart and good.
yeah. That this is
That's
the
cheesy.
same as Nickelback.
Yes, that is what taking it to the cheesy level is, and not being artistic about it whatsoever. It's like, you fucking touch my girlfriend's hair.
Yeah.
Prepare to get your ass kicked. This guy's like, he had to come up with the whole thing about shooting his eye out with an arrow.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
childhood tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then leading to this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
brilliant.
Oh my God.
Almost knocked over
God.
the damn thing. That's another thing for the studio. We gotta get a real
A table.
or
Yeah.
a guy holding this laptop.
Yeah, those are the two things.
Let's move on to Holy Bones.
I like the driving drums in this one.
Yeah, this is the one that. Yeah, this one reminded me. We haven't even really talked about Sonics at all, but this one reminded me a lot of the band Model Actress, which is they're popular now. A lot of people might not know them because they're newer, but they have those kind of like chugging, like their whole sound is modeled after like a chugging bass line
Dark,
like that.
brooding,
Yeah.
like-
I like these kind of like needly guitars there, too.
Reverb-soaked
Yeah.
guitars, yeah.
Yeah, they almost sound like piano stings.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, it has like weird lyrics too about like Valentine's Day, and he
Yeah.
talks about like boarding a ship and sneaking into Rome to steal the crown off of St. Valentine's bones and then smashing his fucking head in.
That's
A
awesome.
guy that's been dead for like
Yeah.
1,500 years.
Sick.
Deep
Right.
in the heart of Rome, there's a sanctified crown of flowers. This is the chorus.
I
The
like
rest.
this chorus.
I like
a
this
lot.
chorus a lot too. Yeah.
And that like sax, like wail or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like for how much like kind of anti melody you get on the verses, there's some songs that make up for it with like really powerful, catchy choruses. Like "Pray
Yeah.
to Me" is probably my favorite
Yeah.
chorus on the record, and this one's really good too, though. But yeah, I didn't really realize that. I mean, I've been having trouble piecing together this story and not knowing if it really means anything.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it all.
Yeah,
But it seems like there's like a
this seems like a it's diverting a little bit.
yeah, or at least like maybe like talking to that guy's character, the guy that just committed murder, like how insane he is,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
or like how down bad he is, where
Yeah,
he's like,
very
I'll
down bad.
steal a crown off of a corpse to give to you because that's how much
Yeah.
I idolize you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's like these two relationships that are connected by, I'm guessing, the next song.
Yeah.
That we'll talk about. And there's like this like theme of religious, like faith, and like these like two sort of like acts of faith that blow up into people's faces.
Yeah.
That I guess that's what it's talking about. I don't know. I have some idea of what's going on.
They're doing a big old Pulp Fiction on us. And
It
it's
is
tough
kind
to
of a Pulp
piece
Fiction.
together. I mean, as a record, like, piecing together that story is one thing, but then there's listening to it as just a record, you
Yeah.
know? And, like, that's a whole different story where, like, taking a song out as a single, you know, if you're not familiar with the band and the lore behind the record, you're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is he talking about?
What is he talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, I had no idea that this was like a concept record until I heard Elena's name like the fourth time, and I was like, that
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
like there's something going on here.
I looked it up too. I mean, I guess the band doesn't consider this to be a concept record, which
Okay.
is interesting. Like, and I could see why you would why they could say that. Like, it's not really. I mean, it is telling a story, but
That abrupt ending is
Yeah, that-
very.
Very
It made me
strange.
think my
Caught me off
phone
guard.
was fucking up every time
yeah,
I was
and
listening
it's
to
made
it.
me think that right
Yeah.
now.
I know. I think I know what you're saying as well, because typically when I think of concept records, I think of them being tied together sonically.
Yeah,
And this, if the lyrics didn't talk to one another, it would feel just like an album of songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know?
Like, there's little things like callbacks and stuff that they relate to each song, but it's not like fucking Leviathan,
Yeah.
or like
Crack the Sky.
Crack the Sky.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
Blood
Or
Mountain.
Blood Mouth.
The only concept
Or
records we know.
They're just keep doing Mastodon record. That's
Certainly
my
not The Hunter.
That's my reference point for every concept record. This is Elena's Dream, which is
More exposition, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So like this is like a voicemail from Elena, I'm guessing, to that guy that begged for the electric chair. And she
Yeah.
talks about a dream she has with this other girl who
Loretta.
Loretta, yeah,
Loretta.
walks by a bunch of the copperheads
The
that were
snakes.
dead but now they're alive. And
And
she
they
thinks
are-
if she's truly faithful, she can put them around her neck and they
Yeah.
won't bite her. and then she gets bitten to death.
Yeah.
And then we get that story at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was my least favorite track on the record, just as a track. I mean, it's not really a track. It's an interlude, but
yeah, it feels like the
Yeah.
detective smoking the cigarette at the desk, like listening to his messages.
Turns out
Yeah.
I was wrong the whole time.
yeah, this dame's gonna put me in an early grave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got the sexy horns and stuff in the background.
It's raining outside.
It's so smoky.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's in a diner at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is that through and through.
Yeah.
But like the presentation of like what's happening, like what she's talking about on the record, does feel just so like, you know,
You left your jacket here.
it's snakes, and I don't really like the way something about like just whoever is leaving this voicemail. Like it doesn't feel like a voicemail to me. It just feels like someone talking about fucking, you know, baloney.
Yeah.
On top of a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's like if somebody was leaving me a voicemail to tell me that I left my jacket,
Yeah,
at the
that's
house, and
the-
I had to sit through 2 hours of snake talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get the
That's
point.
my favorite. That's my favorite part at the end, where she
Yeah,
just
she left
she
your
says all
jacket
this
here.
stuff, and then she's like, "Anyways, you left your jacket here." It's like,
What was all this snake bullshit?
You would have deleted
Yeah.
it and not even know. Where the fuck is my jacket?
I have these dreams about snakes and all this, crazy
I'm gonna
shit. And
start
it's like,
doing that to my dad.
anyway, it's gonna be either pizza or takeout, Chinese for dinner.
That's
Forgot
basically
to
what your
go
dad
shopping
does to you.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like it's just a funny way to end like this big like
Yeah.
weird. Dream.
Oh, and
It's
by
like,
the way,
you left your jacket here.
that reason I called.
Yeah, I just didn't like the presentation of this. I don't know. Like, it
Yeah.
felt like it was supposed to be really weird, and it kind of just came off like, all right, we
All
get
right.
how fucking strange and dark and
Yeah.
moody everything is, you know? Let's move on. Here's Because You Asked. Not one of my favorites.
No, his voice sounds strange to me in this opening
Me
part.
too, yeah.
Like he's like he's asking for it. You know, there's like
Well,
emotion
because you
there.
asked.
That is true.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I did ask.
You asked.
Yeah, you
We
asked.
asked.
But yeah, he's like, it feels very overwrought when the vocals first come in.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't know whether to give it all or
It's giving
like, hold
Springsteen
back.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
A little bit.
Lil Springsteen, yeah, the jaw feels out a bit.
Yeah.
Tell me about his secret garden.
Yeah.
dude.
It is a little bit Secret Garden-ish. Not quite whispered, though. It just feels like he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah,
Like,
because
what voice to be in.
yeah, do I do the deadpan? I've been
Yeah.
doing the deadpan on other
Yeah.
ones. And like that kind of emotionality works better when like the music kicks back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this opening section just feels a little like they're not quite there.
Yeah. The chorus on this one, I don't think is as strong as the past couple either.
Yeah, I like some of the sounds. Like I like those chords they're using there, and then I
Yeah.
like the choir stings that come in as it gets louder here.
Because you were. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the one with the choir parts on it, kind of making up the whole rest of the song. That's interesting.
Yeah, I
That's-
like that.
Yeah, it's
It
cool.
has
that
kind of
they're
like a haunted sort
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
haunted
house.
mansion
Yeah.
type of vibe.
yeah, sort of an Eddie Murphy.
Eddie-
Yeah, sort of an
haunted
Eddie Murphy
mansion sort of
situation.
vibe.
Eddie Murphy. I think he was the only guy in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That him and Norbit were in.
Norbit.
No,
yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
You never see him in the same place though.
Right. Him and Norbit.
Him and Norman.
They were the same. Him and the Nutty Professor.
And then, yeah.
Yeah. Should we move on? Is that all we
Yeah,
have to say
I'm
about
not a
this?
huge
Yeah.
fan of this one.
Yeah. Dive Shrine is the next song.
I like this one.
Yeah. This one feels
It's like a rocker on an album devoid of rockers, except for the second one.
Yeah, this one feels it had a sort of I mean I feel like every time there's like an industrial vibe on any album, we're like 9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails.
We talk about 9 Inch Nails so much, but this did remind me a little bit of 9 Inch Nails, the way that
Yeah.
bass comes in and a little bit of Model Actress again. I mean, that's
More that,
Yeah.
more that like ugly new wave of
Yeah.
of post punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like instrumentally. This was I think one of the more interesting. Like
Yeah.
I could have used maybe a track or two more like this. I actually like the back part of the record, I think, more than I like some of the beginning parts.
Yeah.
Because like it still has like the cinematic elements, but it doesn't feel as much like we're scoring a
like a movie or something.
yeah, or like the opening credits to a
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
You know.
To an
Yeah.
HBO original series about
The
vampires.
True Detective.
Yeah,
Or something.
about some sort of vampire detective
Vampire
who
detective.
can only go at night to solve
Yeah.
crime.
If there was a show, it would be Vampire Detective.
Yeah, Vampire
Yeah.
Detective.
Detective Dracula.
Which
Hi, my name is Robert Dracula.
Robert Dracula.
And I can only work from midnight to about 5:30.
Detective, honey.
Keep your garlic and sticks
Yeah.
away from me.
I didn't go to detective school for no reason, honey. It's Detective Dracula.
I only smoke cigarettes and drink coffee.
Yeah. At night. I mean, that's
At
essentially
night.
what Blade is. He's
Yeah,
Detective
that's true.
Dracula.
Yeah.
Which I love Blade. So
Blade is
I would watch Detective Dracula.
Oh, 100%.
DD.
You would love Detective Dracula.
Yeah, for
What
so
are we
many
fucking
reasons.
talking about?
It would be the best show.
So many reasons.
If you watch
why.
Detective Dracula, that would be every conversation.
Gotta
I
watch
have.
Detective
Yeah.
Dracula.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it
sick.
17 times.
He solves crimes while everyone else
Yeah.
is asleep.
Yeah.
He sucked
kind
the
of a
blood.
kind of a Batman situation.
He found the guy and then he bit his neck and then he had sex with his girlfriend.
He's basically the coolest
He's
guy.
the coolest guy.
He's
yeah.
who I'm trying to be.
Yeah, I want to be Detective Dracula. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
That's all we're getting out of
Dive Shine sick.
It's cool.
It's kind of a Dr. Dracula, Detective Dracula.
Dr. Drac.
Dr. Acula.
That's the new. That's
oh
the
shit,
Yeah,
Dr. Acula.
that's the sequel to
Yeah.
Detective Dracula. Now he's got his PhD.
Yeah.
he's Dr. Dracula.
I'm a doctor at solving
I'm a
crimes
doctor.
now.
This is Smoke. I like this one. This might be one of my, if not my favorite song on the
Yeah.
record.
Same, yeah. I just really like those guitars.
Yeah.
Like that whammy bends. And
Yeah.
like, the vibe works on this one because it's like it still has that like noirish vibe, but it feels like more instrumentation.
Yeah, this one felt like an actual song.
Yeah.
You know, like he's more focused on melody than really like narrative storytelling, I feel
Yeah.
like, even if there is a story that they're trying to tell or piece together with this.
And I like that walk down on the bass
Yeah.
and the piano.
But the guitars are just so fucking cool and moody and ghostly, you know? Like I don't
Yeah.
usually love this song, but this is the one that made me think of Chris Isaac the most.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it has that Wicked Game type of vibe to it.
Definitely.
What a wicked game to play.
Such
Yeah.
a fucking great song.
I mean,
That
I remember
song's
the
amazing.
I remember the first time I heard that song, I was like, "What was that? It was fucking amazing."
Is that the best song I've ever
Is
heard?
that the best
Dude,
song
dads
ever?
love that song.
Yeah.
Dad, I think I was with my dad when
Dude,
I heard
100%. My dad had that on repeat.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the style works in this one because I don't know. I just feel like I'm listening to a band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not as much just like a collection of
novella.
sounds. You know.
like a funnel for a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of this album feels like they are like just channeling, you know, this grand like novel
Yes.
that
Yeah.
they've written. Where this one felt like just it's a good tune.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
It's a
that's what I needed more of. You
Yeah.
know. Let's move on to the last song, Loretta.
A little bit of another driving one. A little rocker.
This one's probably one of the better rockers on the record.
I like this one. Yeah, it might be my favorite track on
Yeah.
the record. Really makes you earn it because you have to wait till the very end. But I mean, I compare it a lot to the Letters from Face of Love song. No, which one's the gun? That
Letters
Sing,
from Sing Sing.
one. Sing. This one reminds me a lot of that one just because it's like a little up tempo.
Yeah.
Like it's. I would say this song encapsulates the Bambara vibe the most, like of what's past. You know.
Yeah.
This album doesn't really show off what they were before, like the show that I saw. But this song, imagine a lot more of this type of shit.
Yeah, that's what I felt like had to be the case. Like this had
Yeah.
to be something they were trying
Yeah.
different from their old sound because
Yeah.
yeah, it felt like everything that I had learned about them. I was just like, this doesn't seem to fit.
Their old stuff is not much different than what this album is like sonically, except they just like filled their set with much more driving shit with choruses and like I said before, confrontational shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I went back and listened to a little bit of the record I initially checked them out on.
I really like Serafina.
Shadow on Everything, I think, is the one I first checked out, and then Serafina's on an album called Stray.
Yeah.
But this one reminded me a lot of Serafina. And there was a song on... Yeah, Jose Tries to Leave is on Shadow on Everything. Another one with a character telling a story. But that's all. That was the song that got me into this band initially.
Yeah. There's a song called Mythic Love, which is a single from something, but that's probably my favorite song by them.
Yeah, and I think... I like some of these like vocals, like where he picks up a little bit, and they keep like doing that. Like it almost works like a chorus the way the guitars come in.
Yeah.
But it's like all verses. There's like 8 verses in this. And it's
a lot of fucking lyrics to remember.
Impressive that he wrote that many lyrics. And a lot of them are good. The one thing I will say about just storytelling in music in general, I think that the song is a very good vessel to tell stories. The album, not so much. Like having a song that tells like one succinct story works so many times. There's so many great story songs. But when it gets stretched to album form, it always gets like a little confusing. Things don't quite add up. You're making like jumps and stuff like that. So that's just kind of my general opinion on storytelling.
Rocky
in music
Raccoon, dude.
Yeah, dude. That's all you need.
It takes a special kind of nerd in music to like flesh out an entire album.
Yeah.
And be consistent every song.
Yeah.
With like, this is a part of the storyline. You know? Like, I feel like when bands try to do concept records, there's always like one or two where it's like, oh, these ones are just kind of in there. And you're like, wait, why?
Yeah, exactly. And then some guy on Reddit will have written up like a whole explanation of it.
What those
and
are.
then like you read it and you're like, that didn't happen. Where did you fucking pick that up from, dude? Like I listened to the record, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I kind of like the story at the heart of this, of like of this song at least, of like that guy like defanging the rattlesnake and like basically like tricking that girl and being like, I'm out of here, lady. And
I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, it's like a guy leaves town on his girl and he like pulls the fangs out of a rattlesnake, and she thinks it's because she's so pure of faith. And then she goes back the next day, finds the rattlesnakes. And then they just like, these ones do have fangs.
These ones have fangs.
And they kill her.
These are dangerous rattlesnakes.
Yeah, and it does play into that theme of like this idea of expecting a certain side of like certain kind of spiritual intervention.
Yeah.
That is like unrealistic.
Should we move into CAs?
Sure.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Evan, you go first.
Okay. This is not a bad record, and there are things in this record that I do like. I think that there are certain elements of it that just hit me as like a little bit of orange juice and toothpaste, like together. You know, like sometimes his voice and the storytelling and the sonics of the songs don't quite add up, because like I'm hearing Nick Cave. I'm hearing these noir elements, and then sometimes the instrumental is like too poppy, and then other times it's like too ethereal, too cinematic, that like it has a hard time keeping my attention. But I don't think it is a bad record. I think that for certain people this will work much better than it worked on me. And I also think as like an introduction to their music, I don't know if this would be the strongest. Like if I heard some of the stuff that was a little more grounded in a type of post-punk, I'd have an easier time making this leap. But yeah, there are just certain elements of it that hit me like black licorice. But I do think I like that this guy is trying with the lyrics. Like he definitely is like very literate. He has like a good understanding of, you know, like phrasing and how to fit these types of phrases and stuff together. Doesn't always work for me. But I did find it to be like an impressive, like they did what they set out to do. You know what I mean? Like I think that it's like mission accomplished for what they tried to do. Didn't 100% work for me, So I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, this band is like probably on the short list just because they made such an impression on me. That I'll check out what they listen to. I
Or
definitely.
what they make.
Hmm?
You said I'll check out what they listen to.
Oh, I'll check out what they make. Sorry. Yeah. But regardless, I guess I was expecting a little bit more out of this because the single, the sing song, whatever, was like such a like. That's the very to the T of like the stuff they make and whatever. I was like, okay, cool. But like, I don't know. I think I was expecting a little bit more out of this. It's definitely much more of like a vibe trip than it is like a, you know, an intense rock trip, which is for some people. Like I kind of like what Evan said. So I'm not by any means like bashing them for doing what they did, because I think it's very interesting, and I think for the right type of person, someone deciphering like a Pulp Fiction-ish script for in an album is a fun thing. It's not necessarily what I look for, but there's really cool sounds. If they came to town, I would see them 10 out of 10 times, because they, you know, their live show is awesome, and the accolades that they've received and the opportunities that they've gotten are well earned. But this record just doesn't really scratch enough of the itch that I have. You know, it's just they could have done a little bit more moving and less vibing, you know, but it is what it is. So I think that I'm going to give it a 6.7, you know, and call it a day.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I mean, like, one thing I thought a lot about while listening to this record was, like, I wish I was more of, like, a Bambara head. Because if I was, I would probably love this. Because I probably would have had enough of them doing, you know, the post-punk thing, and I would have been ready for, like, some, you know, a Headphones record where they're really expanding upon their storytelling, which they clearly do in all of their records. And it seems to be a way, like, not a crutch, but just a way that he writes lyrics. Like, he just is a natural storyteller. I think he's a good writer and an entertaining writer. Like, there's nothing really, like, confusing about the way he writes lyrics and tells stories. Like, once you start reading the lyrics, it starts becoming, like, very obvious, but it's the way it's all put together that makes it a confusing, like, album listen. And, you know, that's fun to, like, want to go in and dive into lyrics and piece everything together like that. It definitely caught my attention in that way. But as a piece of, like, as just an album where I'm, like, listening to it and just wanting to enjoy it, I found myself just kind of, like, becoming just, like, a little bit annoyed with just how far they're driving the noir thing down my throat. I'm just like, there's so many, like, almost cheesy line deliveries and tropes in here with the snakes and the fangs and the knives and the leather jacket and the glass eye. It's all just, like, very, like, okay, you know, I don't, you know, we talk about albums about monsters and things like that all the time being annoying. This was it kind of did the same thing for me, just in the way of just, like, it feels like an album for, you know, the black leather jacket guy who's, like, you know, I don't know, doesn't really live that lifestyle. You know what
like
I mean?
he has, like, the comb that's the switchblade.
Yeah, the comb. Yeah, the comb that's a switch.
I am a black leather jacket guy, but even for
you have
me,
no hair, so you
I have
can't
no
use
you don't
hair.
have any
a
hair, so
sling
it doesn't
blade.
count. Yeah.
Yeah, but even for me, sorry to interrupt, but, like, I just want a little bit more, you know, things I can remember out of this.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, it feels like so much of that wrapped, like, all that stuff is cool. Like, it's fun to listen to, but, like, all that stuff wrapped up in, like, song after song after song. I'm just like, all right. Like, by the time I got to Elena's Dream, I was like, fuck you, Elena. I don't give a shit. You know, the Copperhead Nest. I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Some of it is, like, central casting more.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a genre of tropes. Like, that's how you build a genre. But some of them are a little, like, they hammer them over.
They
and
hammer
over
over your head a little bit. Like, I definitely was interested in learning more about, like, the story of this, and I think it's, like, a very fair attempt by a post-punk band to make, like, their first headphones record, you know, and I enjoyed listening to it in a lot of ways, but yeah, it felt very like a little bit too dreary, a little bit too on the nose with the noir stuff, a little bit just too much in one lane where, you know, I would have appreciated when I got to Smoke, I was like, I would have liked some more tunes on this thing. Like there doesn't feel like a ton of tunage on it. But I had fun listening to it. And I don't think that this is a bad record, and I feel like it's a cool thing to do for, you know, a band that has made, you know, 3 or 4 records already.
Yeah.
I kind of, you know, want to go back and check out more of them. I had that urge to do that every time I listened to this. I was like, now I got to go back and hear Serafina and fucking all these characters. It's
good.
It's really fucking interesting. You know, it's really cool to just have a singer who like will dive into these like weird fucking stories. Like it's cool. It feels like watching an HBO show, and I am watching White Lotus right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was like, that feels like the fucking guy from White Lotus, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, as a record, I'm always about tunage and coming back to it.
Yeah.
How much replay value. That's like what I get the most out of. So I was feeling a 6.5.
Yeah. So that's a 6.6.
I believe that's, it's a 6.56.
6.56.
So that's, man,
Yeah.
Fuck.
man, it's a yeah whatevs.
It's
right?
a yeah, whatever. It's a very
It's a
high-
strong yeah,
It's
whatever.
Yeah.
It's
It's a vampire detective.
It's a
yeah,
vampire
whatever.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think that makes sense. It's
It
Vampire
is, it
Detective.
does.
Like I said, I would enjoy Vampire Detective if it was a show.
Yes.
And this is basically Vampire Detective the album.
I'm not
And if
trying
this
to.
was the score to Vampire Detective, it might go up a notch.
yeah, maybe.
I'm not trying to read a book when I listen to an album, and quite frankly, the only thing I remembered from this was the from that single. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I've heard better stuff from them, but that doesn't mean this is bad, because they're a good band.
Yeah.
And they're a good youthful band putting a lot of cool energy into their work.
Yeah, I felt similar to Nate. Like, I do want to check out more of their other stuff because
I feel like you guys would be into their shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a... you really don't hear storytelling like this, like, as, like, with these, you know, weird, like... characters with like you don't know like they have like shady backstories and you're like, why do I want to know more?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it does remind me of like some of the Tom Waits stuff, and I think like there's still that part of me like making the jump of like that type of storytelling and this type of sonics.
Yeah.
That I don't know if it 100% lands. Like
Yeah.
like there are parts of it that do feel very noir, but it's like sometimes it's too noir and sometimes it's not noir enough.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's like I don't want it to sound like, you know, it would be scoring a like Double Indemnity from like 1935 or something.
A lot of it hit me almost like student film-ish, you know? Like there's just a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of influence from one clear thing.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, okay, you're into that.
Yeah. It's like it's like the dudes that were trying to do Tarantino
Yeah.
Yeah.
after they saw Pulp Fiction
Yeah, exactly.
or something like that.
Clearly you like Pulp Fiction. You know, that's how I felt.
Like Evan said too, if this is not your entry point to the band,
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think.
I think if we were to start at the Bambara beginning, we would come into this like if we were big fans of this band or had been paying attention to them for a while, we'd appreciate this a little bit more.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
The only way that this should be your first like entry point is if your favorite band is Dashiell Hammett, the author. Like I don't really listen to music, but I love the Maltese Falcon.
Right.
So I'm gonna listen to this
I'm
album
gonna listen to
first.
this album.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's fair.
That's it.
We didn't hate it.
Yeah.
We didn't love it. We liked it. It's
Once again, our rating scale is ironclad.
it's ironclad.
It's ironclad. That's exactly. It's a very strong. Yeah, whatever.
This
It's
is
a
like the
vampire
nicest.
detective.
It's a vampire
Yeah.
detective. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And that stands above them all right
It
now.
really does. That's
currently-
one of the coolest. Yeah, whatever.
Top
That
of the
is
mountain.
the coolest.
That's-
Yeah,
There's
Coolest,
been some
yeah.
pretty bad whatever.
Oh
so-
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
been a nacho. Yeah. No, that was a
That
hell
was a
yeah.
hell yeah.
That was
a
a
hell yeah.
Damn, Gaga outranked Bambara.
I think I honestly
Woof.
I think that just in terms of just phrasing, a vampire detective, yeah, whatever, is stronger than a nacho. Hell yeah.
I would agree.
You know what I mean?
I would agree.
But
That's the nice-
numerically, it isn't.
Numerically, no.
That's the nice thing about the rating system.
Yeah.
You dig in deep enough, you're like, you know what?
You know
the
what?
nacho hell yeah doesn't sound as enticing as the vampire, detective. Yeah, whatever.
I wish that this doesn't exist, but
This is the dumbest show. Literally,
I
ever
love
created.
this
I
show
wish
so
there was
much,
someone
dude.
that would catalog all the ratings, like all the different the variations or whatever, and like rank those. You know, that would be kind of a fun.
That would be a
exercise.
fun one.
None
Yeah.
of us will do that, but
Yeah.
if there's someone
Yeah,
out
we're
there that
clearly
likes
not
us
doing
enough,
that. Yeah, but
do it.
Yeah,
Make us an infographic.
Someone find all of our ratings. We should do that. That'd be a fun like end of the year thing.
Yeah.
It's just to like
See
here's
what
all
we
the
gave.
Well,
I
we-
mean, some of them I know. I'm like, Jesus.
Well,
Yeah.
we give like at the end of the year we say like, yeah, that one got a nacho hell yeah. We'll
Yeah.
be like, what the fuck were we talking about?
What was that
Nachos?
even about? Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of times where I listen to the show and I'm like, what was the point of that one?
Yeah.
Why did we say that?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the show. It's Bambara with Birthmarks. Go listen to it. Our score is a Vampire Detective, yeah, whatever, 6.5. But you know, to let us know what you thought of it. Comment down below. Let us know if we're wrong, if we're right,
If we fucked up the whole
if
storyline.
we didn't get the storyline whatsoever. Subscribe to the channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our Patreon page for bonus content. $5. Become a quitter. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's like with my band. Goodbye.